Hey everybody.
Hey guys.
Today we're going to have a wonderful story or some sort of conversation with Tim over here as he talks about his life with people pleasing and how God's walked him through that and has been transforming him over the years, and it's going to be a good one. So I'm looking forward to this, and I'm probably going to have some stories of my own. So we're going to jump right into that. Let's have some fun. Well, welcome back to thoughtraid, a show where we take on thoughts and find better ways of thinking about them. I'm Brandon, and this is Tim, and today we're talking about Tim's stories about how he's come through people-pleasing, the things that he's learned about that, all the whole 9 yards. It's going to be good, and I'm looking forward to it. And like I mentioned before, I'm probably going to have some stories that I'm going to bring up here and there as I'm listening to what Tim has to say. So let's jump into that with today's Get Naked Monday.
Yeah, so this topic, it's a really big topic for me because people-pleasing was such a big part of my life, and still is to a degree. Like, I don't think you ever truly get rid of it. And even if you're really good at not people-pleasing, you enter into relationships and circumstances where you just don't have the confidence to do the healthy thing or to do the leader type thing, and you just default to, well, they know better than me, or I want them to approve of me. Like, there's all these concepts for why we people please. And honestly, I don't know how today's conversation is going to go either, just because it's on my heart to talk about. But first, if you are watching, I want to know, what are some areas in your life where you just think back and acknowledge, I've been people pleasing, and you hate it and you don't know how to do anything different? I want to know about that today, and hopefully we can talk with you about it. Or if you're watching this in the future through the recording on YouTube or something that's been edited, let us know in the comments. We'd love to sort that out with you.
First of all, I'm wondering if all forms of people pleasing is even wrong, because I feel like there has to be some degrees of it that's right. Otherwise, no one would really attempt to do it, I feel, because there's always a half truth in things. And I know that there's scripture verses that talk about the need to live in peace and harmony with other people, to strive for peace. So pleasing people, especially those that you love and are important to you and stuff, I feel like there's a degree of that is love. There's a degree of it that's clearly unhealthy also. Mm-hmm. And maybe there's another word for it in the healthy sense, which could entirely be the case. But in general, I will sacrifice what I want sometimes in order to do things that you would want, so that way you feel valued and love for who you are. And so I'm doing that to please you, for you to have a good time. Mm-hmm. And I can do that so many times without it even bothering me, because I don't care, because I care more about you. And then there are other times where I'm doing it because I feel insecure, and I feel like if I don't do that, then that's it, and you're not going to be my friend anymore, or something of that nature. And that's where it kind of, I think, goes into the unhealthy space. But in general, I don't know.
Well, I'm thinking about 1 Corinthians 13, and there's that part that says, don't insist on your own way. And if I think about the Old Testament, there was the time where God wanted to be the people's king. And the people did not want God as their king. The people wanted a king, a manly king. And God was like, all right, and he sent Samuel to go find David.
I'm pulling up Facebook on my phone so I can see the comments.
Oh, you're good. But God wanted to be the people's king, but the people did not want that. They wanted somebody they can tangibly see, touch, feel, hear, crucify, whatever.
Someone they can crucify. Yes.
But I'm just thinking about how that relates, insisting on your own way, because if you think that God is love, he's never going to insist on his own way. And I was writing in my notebook earlier, and it was just talking about how God's never going to force you to make a decision, right? He never even forces people to come to him or to have a relationship with him, but he's always sitting there waiting. And so throughout the whole Old Testament, God never left the people. He was always like, talking and doing and giving visions and trying to correct and stuff. And there were certain people that were submitted to God that were like, okay, I'm not going to insist on my way. That's why King David, for instance, danced through the streets naked just to show his submission to God, you know. But just thinking about people pleasing and the difference, because if you're in a relationship with somebody who keeps insisting on their way and they don't want to outdo one another in doing honor, you know, I think about that scripture too. Because there are some people where it's like, hey, Brandon, I'm going to pay for your meal. No, Tim, I'm going to pay for your meal. Brandon, let me pay. And we're like fighting about who's going to pay for each other's meal. You know, sometimes it's like, Brandon, I'm going to pay for your meal. It's like, well, good, I deserve it. And then the next time, Tim, why aren't you paying for my meal? You know, there's no choice there, right? But there's a big difference between loving somebody and pleasing somebody.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I guess, like, again, there might be, I guess that's the differentiation between pleasing and loving. It's just, I'm grappling with just the words people pleasing in general. Mm-hmm. But I guess it would be more loving. I guess we would be moving towards the word love if it's done in a way that I'm not just trying to be in good graces with the person and for selfish ambition or fear of rejection or whatever. Mm-hmm. I guess then you would move towards love rather than people pleasing. So I guess if we want to make people pleasing truly just a pure negative term, then yes, you would have to call that love. But if there is any room for part of it to be a good thing, then, you know, I guess it just depends on what that falls. I wonder if there's like a definition, like a Myers-Briggs definition of what people-pleasing technically is, or some kind of psychology definition of it. If you guys know what that is, please bring it up so I can differentiate between, like, do we need a separate word for, like, healthy working with people, or is it also fall into the category of people-pleasing?
Yeah, well, just thinking about back to my childhood, because, man, I was not a very confident child at all, especially in middle school. Because middle school is where things start to change, you know, like everything. You know, you go through puberty.
Puberty.
Yeah, like that stuff starts to change. You get more object permanence with different things, like your situation, your role in the different castes and groups and social whatever. There was a situation where, and I've talked about this on previous thought raids, but I was on the phone with a friend of mine, and this was 7th grade, and we did a 3-way call. That's where you're on the phone with somebody, they call somebody else, and you three are talking simultaneously. Outdated for those of you who were born before 2000. But we called this third friend, and my friend says, hey, Tim, put the phone down. I'm like, okay, whatever, I'll put the phone down. Just wanting to be, you know, pleasing. Like, sure, I'll submit to your request. I'll do as you ask. And so I pretended to put the phone down, and I was listening. And this person, to my other friend, said, "Hey, let's make fun of Tim because his family lives in a trailer, a single wide trailer." And I picked it, and my heart sank when I heard that. And I kind of went along with it, you know, because I was taught sticks and stones may break your bones, but words will never hurt you. Man, words hurt. That is a lie. But I went along with it because I thought, okay, well, they're having fun, and I was making excuses for them. You know, people pleasing has a lot of excuse making in it instead of engaging in boundaries. Because I didn't know my value, and people pleasing also has a place in relationships not being mutual, not being equal. They're always one-sided. Whenever people pleasing is present in a relationship, it's always one-sided. Somebody's always giving and somebody's always taking, right? And so that happened a lot of times. And later on that year, we were at a table in art class, and they made a joke, same group of friends, and they said they were just in a third person making fun of me. I don't know if it was directed towards me, but they were like, yeah, can you believe people that live in a trailer, their entire house can fit in my bedroom because they lived in an affluent neighborhood. And I was like, yeah, that's funny, guys. That's really funny, you know. And I kind of went along with it, and they laughed because I took it, right? But they were laughing at me, not with me. I thought I was laughing with them. And it's weird that was just a common theme throughout middle school and high school and in my early 20s. Like I didn't know my value in a relationship. I didn't know my place. And I didn't feel like I had, talking about value, I didn't have enough value to have confidence that I can defend myself and put up boundaries. It wasn't even defending myself. It was putting boundaries around the parts of me that were valuable, you know? And in doing so, I thought that I was giving to those people, but I was really just enabling them. And that wasn't me being a good friend either. I thought that I was being a fantastic friend because I didn't engage in conflict. Like, just before the stream, Brandon and I had some conflict.
Yes.
And we honestly have a lot of conflict because we're very different people.
Yes.
But the fact of the matter is I'm not afraid of hurting his feelings because I know that if I do it in a way where I'm not attacking his character, I'm actually being loving by bringing to the table conflict, and he's being loving by bringing to the table conflict. Because we identify or we think that something's unhealthy, right? But we know enough of our values to say, hey, I'm going to step into this place and challenge you on this because I know you respect me enough to meet me there.
Yep, I'm not really... I mean, I feel like any kind of relationship should move in the direction where you can have confrontations with the person, because I feel like if the relationship is devoid of confrontation, then there's dishonesty that's going on. Like no one, I don't know, I would like to say that no one ever really gets bothered by something, and that's probably the case, but I feel like there probably will always be some exception of a person who will somehow never really actually have a problem, but I greatly doubt it. But for the average person, I would say at the very least, very few people are not bothered by nothing. Like, there are some people that can be bothered by stuff, and I feel like for a relationship to have any sort of depth, there has to be some moments where you have to be as vulnerable enough that something they say bothers you, and you're gonna have to talk about it.
Yeah. I'm reading Seth's comment. He said, trying to leave a friend's house is where I can't help but please people. They always guilt trip me to stay. I'm watching you, Darn Erlin. Then he said, I would say people pleasing is sacrificing comfort to benefit someone else's motives.
But that's there's in and of itself, that at least by that definition, in and of itself, that's not necessarily unhealthy. It's dependent more so on your reasoning behind it, and if it's becoming like a codependence type of thing where you're doing it and it really should not be done in the first place. So why are you doing it, and are they manipulating you? And those two situations, that then I feel like you were going into the red zone, the red flag zone, because I think in a healthy relationship there's a degree of sacrifice that happens for someone else's benefit. Because I feel like that's what love is. It's like, I don't necessarily want to do this, but I love you and I want to be around you, so I'm going to do this for you because I love you and because I want you in my life.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's you should continuously always do that. I feel like there needs to be a give and take. But if there's a give and take of that, I think that's a healthy and good thing. I'm not always going to enjoy sports, for instance, but I have friends that do, so I will go to a football party or I will go to a game that they're in because I care about them. So for instance, with just to give a point,
we went and watched Monster Hunter.
Yes, that's not something I would normally do. But
I was so excited.
But you were excited, and I love you, and so I went, and it was a pretty good movie. I thought it was good.
I mean, I would give it like a C, but I was really excited just because I played the game.
Yeah, so I was happy to go for that. And another example is we've got a small group of people, they love to do volleyball. I don't really care, and I especially am not going to do it when it's hot, but when it cools down, I'm going to be in volleyball.
Brandon's a man of comforts.
I do like my comfort, but I will...
see this skin tone?
This is the skin tone of comfort.
I'm just kidding.
Well, it is true in a way. I don't have any... granted, I don't tan, I burn, so that's another reason why I don't go out in the sun
I was
often.
making a racial joke, Brandon.
I know, but I take it in a different direction. Get ready, because sometimes I take your joke seriously. But anyways, when it cools down, I will be out there doing volleyball with them because I love them and I want to be around them and I want them to know that I care about them. So, I feel like there's a place for it, but if it goes into the zone of insecurity and it goes into the zone of I want their approval of me because I'm not valuable if they don't approve of me. You're going into a problem, or if they're manipulating you and it feels like you would be a terrible friend if you don't do this, now you're going into the negative part of people pleasing that's too far, and you are compromising your value and you're putting it into hands of man.
Okay, so let's approach this from two different places. The first place I want to approach this is getting into a relationship with somebody, because there's people pleasing where it's like you're paying a cost of entry. And then when you're in relationship with somebody, there's people pleasing to stay in that, thinking that you're helping them, but you're actually enabling. So getting into relationships, man, it just makes me think about sexual relationships. Like there's this commonality, especially on social media dating, things like Tinder and whatnot, that if two people go out, for instance, the girl feels like she has to put out or shut up, or else the guy's not going to want to stick around. Like, I've talked to many women who said, if I didn't put out on the first date, he wasn't going to stick around, right? And for myself, I always thought to myself, if I don't have something intelligent to say, or if I can't compliment them enough, or if I can't buy their meal, people aren't going to want to stay in a relationship with me. People aren't going to want to be my friend or hang out with me. Like, the first couple of times you and I hung out together, I think you tried to buy me a sandwich or something. And I said, okay, well, I was like, no, I can't go into a deficit here. I gotta, okay, Brandon, next time I gotta pay, because I was trying to people please. Because my perception, my belief system was wrapped around, okay, well, I have to put in more into this relationship because I inherently am not valuable enough. So this person's valuable because I want to be their friend. But as I come into this relationship, I'm not valuable enough. So if they give something to me, I'm at a deficit, and I got to make that up by just going over and beyond.
No. Yeah, that's where it goes into the not so good realm, because if you feel like that your value is based on their approval of you in any shape or form, then that's the negative part of it. Like, you don't sacrifice because you're not valuable enough. You sacrifice because you are valuable, and you see that they're valuable, and you want to invest into them.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's the thing. If you look at biblical faith, it's talking about giving out of abundance, right? But when you're people-pleasing, you're not giving out of abundance. You're giving out of scarcity. You're giving because you don't feel like you have abundance, But in all my relationships now, for the most part, I feel like, oh, I'm completely full, and I know that I have value. Therefore, I'm going to give because I just want to give. Like the disagreement we had before we got on stream, it's like I approached that from the position of, okay, well, I mean, I feel great about my life. I feel great about myself. I'm going to enter in this space because I think that challenging Brandon in this certain area, I don't know if you would consider what we did, me challenging you, but for my process, or my thought process, it was like, okay, well, I feel good in our relationship. I feel like we're mutually respecting and honoring, and like we're always trying to outdo each other and honor that whole thing. And just like you said to me, you felt like there was an area that's unhealthy, so you sought to challenge that, right? And that's putting something into the relationship and engaging in the conflict where it's not from a position of emptiness or weakness or I need to do this to save the relationship. It's no, I needed to help them because I believe they're going down a unhealthy path.
I'm now thinking more about the conversation than I am thinking about the topic, but it was nothing related to anything of like, I have to be right or anything that nature.
We were talking about politics and the COVID shot.
Yeah, it was more so just concern.
I'm more holy and I got the shot, and Brandon believes that it's of the devil.
I don't believe it's of the devil. That's way too far and way too simplified.
Yeah, but see, if I approached that whole conversation from my previous modus operandi of people pleasing, the conversation would have gone a lot differently. I would not have talked about my opinion. I would not have engaged in conflict. I would have thought, oh man, Brandon is better than me. Okay, well, he's somebody that I want to be friends with. Therefore, I just need to accept what he says.
No.
Okay. Crap! I got the shot, Brandon. I'm sorry. Here. How do I get this stuff out of it? Like, that's how I used to think. Honestly.
Oh man. Oof. That's no way to live.
It's really not, man. But, so many people that engage in people pleasing, they think that they're being loving to the other person by just giving them what they want. And that's not true. Like, if you have relationships where people just want you to submit and give them what they want, I would really address your motives, or like question them, like, why am I staying in this relationship if I'm the only one giving? Why is this present? Why am I afraid to challenge? Why am I afraid to engage in conflict? Now, I'm not talking about being a butthole and just looking for things that are wrong. No. What I'm saying is, if you identify something makes you unhappy, or if you identify something that's unhealthy, or in any of those anything in that arena, why are you afraid to bring it to the table? Why do you always submit what you think to what somebody else might think?
There could be a whole bunch of reasons why a person would do that, but it all comes down to their perceived value of themselves, I feel like, and whether or not they have Christ in them, and what Christ thinks of them too. Mm-hmm. I feel, because like if I don't know Christ, like that's the thing. I feel like a lot of people look at Christ, they look at God, and they don't think he exists, for one. And that usually comes from reasons of disappointments, experiences with the church, or stuff of that nature, at least in America. I can't speak for other countries that are not rooted in Christianity, like America is. But at least in America, it's usually linked to that. Or, if they don't think that he exists, then they think that he's terrible. And essentially, I think a lot of people, they view God as they view their fathers, specifically, just because of how God is like referenced in the Word of God. The ultimate authority figure of our lives typically is our fathers, and so if we've had a crappy dad, if we had a non-existent dad, if we had a alcoholic father, or we had just maybe even parents in general, then they associate their parents with God in a way, and they view God through the lens of their parents, and now it's really hard to go to God about things. They think that he's just not going to be present, doesn't care, is aloof, is going to criticize them for what they're going through, whatever, and that's just not the case of who God is at all.
I think that's a really good point, because just thinking about how we view authority figures, because at one point, and those of you who are watching who are still in your parents' household under the age of 17 or 18 or whatever, and you are under their authority, this is going to hit a little bit differently for you. But at one point, we were in that same boat, and I respect your elders, honor thy mother and thy father. And there's a difference between honoring and just doing whatever they say, right?
Yeah.
Because at some point you grow past that and you enter into a new season where, Jesus even modeled this, where he was preaching, and then Mary and I forget which one of his brothers, his mom and his brother came through the crowd, and one of his disciples was like, "Preacher, your mother and your brother are here," and he's like, "Who?" My mother, aren't we all brothers and sisters?
These are my mothers, and these are my brothers.
And it's like, it almost seems sacrilegious to think of my parents or my family that way, as equals to me in some regards. But honestly, that's what it looks like. I mean, a lot of people view God as heavenly being, piece of crap. And it's like, when I can't go before God because I'm a piece of crap. He's a heavenly being, but it says that he's a father, he's a comforter, he's our guide, he's a shepherd. I mean, he fulfills all these roles, right? In many ways, he is sovereign, right? And that's a whole different talk. But in other ways, he's very lateral to us because we're made in his image.
It's interesting, the wisdom of the Word of God, to put God ahead of your parents, because what I've learned as I've gotten older is that there are some blockages I have with my parents that are only overcomable once I start looking them God first, then my parents. And that's really important, because like when my parents, any place where my parents are above God, I'm afraid to challenge them. They frustrate the crap out of me. I just don't understand them. There's just irreconcilable differences between me and them. But once God's in the proper place, and ironically, when I no longer view them as God, but put them on the tier of peer, then I'm more open to hear what they have to say, ironically, and it's a more clear and open communication, relationship, everything is improved once they're in their proper place.
Yeah.
It's like my ears are able to open up, and what they've been trying to tell me this whole time makes better sense than they did when I put them above God in certain areas and trusted them above trusting God and what He was saying. When, like, especially in the moment where I decided that I needed to look at my dad, no longer looked at my dad to fill my needs of a dad, and instead looked for God to fill that role. When I made that decision, it became infinitely easier to deal with my dad than it was before that point. Before that point, I looked at my dad and people pleasing. If I tried to people please anyone, it would be my parents. That was what it was.
I wish you would try and people please me more, man. Just let me have my way, Brandon.
It was my parents that I always tried to people please because, you know, they were wise, they were older than me, they had more experience, whatever, and I had generally good parents. So I would try to, like, if they didn't think that I heard from God, I would question if I actually heard from God. You know, I would, and then I would fall back what I believed because I lacked confidence in my own personal relationship with God and what I was hearing. So it took me 25 years to finally move out of my parents' house because that's the length of time it took for me to have any sort of confidence that I actually, you know, was good enough me and God. And so, like, once I put them out of that place of godlyhood and put God above them, then I was actually able to have proper relations with them and hear what they were trying to say outside of the filters of my childhood and teenagehood, my disappointments that I especially had with my dad, who didn't take the time to enjoy video games and to understand me in that way. Like he mentioned that he wished he did when he was with us last Saturday, or I guess 2 Saturdays now ago. You know, like I wanted that. I didn't get that from my dad. But when I put God first over my dad, then it was okay because it was like, okay, I'm no longer trying to get that out of him. How can I help him? How can I work with him? Now I can listen to him in a different light entirely. I know it's a bit of a tangent, but that's actually where my people-pleasing comes in from.
It's very similar because, you know, we have a tendency to people-please people that we respect and we, what's the word? Admonish? Is that the word I'm trying to say?
I think so.
Because I did the same thing with my wife, you know. Like, if any of you know Ariane, you know how awesome she is. I mean, you know how awesome she is.
I do.
She's a very fiery person, very passionate person, very intelligent, very smart.
And very genuine.
Very genuine. She's the most genuine person I know. She feels things and she likes to challenge people to be better. Like, there's just so many good qualities about her.
And humble. I think she's humble.
I'm just kidding. But when I met her and as you know, I decided I want to marry this person. As I married this person, I knew that I fell short of in so many ways in the areas that she excelled. You know, the way that she was taught finances, ethically, especially with things like diligence and what's the word I'm looking for, where you're just being she's a lot more responsible. But, you know, I say that from a place of people-pleasing even, because there are many ways where I'm more responsible where she's not. But because in my weaknesses, I engage in a relationship with her, I just default to, well, you must be right and I'm a piece of crap. That whole concept again, you know? And so little things have sprung up in our relationship where I just, okay, well, if that's what you say, that's what we'll do. And that's not what she's looking for. She gets angry with me so frequently when I do that because she doesn't want me just to fall down and let her lead. She doesn't want to lead in our relationship, but because of my people-pleasing tendencies, often that's the position I put her in. You know? And so it's like journeying through people-pleasing when it comes to friends now, that's a lot easier for me. When it comes to leading groups of people or in business, I'm still learning that with my life coaching thing, like realizing that I should be able to be confident in how I'm coaching people and I know what I'm talking about. I can actually give them something of value and I can actually help people. I have to stop and remind myself instead of just letting them sit in this, oh man, well my issue is this and it's never going to change. Oh man, I can totally... No, dude. No. That's me people pleasing. That's me engaging in their process because I give them more value than I feel like I have, which is enabling and not loving, because loving people is sometimes challenging them. But in my relationship with my wife, going back on that, a lot of times she wants me to challenge her, especially if she's engaging in an unhealthy process. I'm not going to go into those out of respect for her, but there are times where I'll just let her have her way with certain things and I won't challenge her. And to me, it's like, okay, well, I don't want to push her too hard. Yeah, I know she's working on it because I know she's trying. I know, it takes God time to work on things. But she also married me because she trusts that I have what it takes to lead her in the right direction.
Yeah.
And that's not a sexist thing. That's why she married. And she has said this to me. She knows that I'm capable of leading her in ways where she's weak, right? And making decisions, and also making decisions that might not be right, but having the balls to go in a new direction and having the understanding that, well, sometimes I make mistakes and I'm going to lead through that. But there are so many times where I have thought that I was loving her, but I was actually just trying to please her. And people pleasing is the opposite of loving somebody. If you think about going back to the Old Testament, like I really wonder what would have happened if God said, no, guys, I'm not going to give you a king. I am your king.
That'd be interesting.
Right, but I don't know, trying to figure out people pleasing while not also insisting on my way is hard, because the conversation you and I had before was God was prompting me just to ask questions and not trying to like butt heads with you. It's like, well, why do you think that way? And just standing in a place of confidence saying, okay, well, we disagree and that's okay. But let me ask you questions to find out where you're at, because I still believe that I'm right, but I'm open to what you have to say. Right? So, I in my weaknesses, when I was people-pleasing the most, I just acknowledged that I followed more than I led. Right? I think it's really difficult for people who people-please to lead in any regards, whether it's a team, a relationship themselves. Because when you're in submission to the world around you, there's no way that you can lead from the inside out. Right, which is what we're called to do. We're supposed to let living water flow through us. Jesus, love, right? We're supposed to lead from a position of love. But you can't do that if you allow everything but love to lead you. What is Bryce saying?
Bryce was just saying that we didn't actually post the stuff onto Discord or onto... in two areas in Discord.
Peyton Page, I would like one of you to fart on the podcast until it stinks really bad. I do that frequently.
I would like that indeed no one does that, so my nose can be benefited, and yours can too.
See, I don't try and people please Brandon with that. I just let it rip.
Yeah. But at least you do so like over off in the distance where it doesn't have to waft in my direction.
Or I just tell you, I'm like, hey Brandon, be prepared. This just happened. This just occurred. But guys, I will say my journey through people pleasing, I guess the way that I got through it was just people pouring into my life and challenging me, saying, hey, you are worth having an opinion. What you think and feel, even if it's wrong, matters. Like this little sign here, you matter, Like that's something that I really had to wrap my head around, because I never thought that I really did. And in my relationship with Jesus, that apart from everything else, I mean, there's so much stuff. If you look in Scripture where God's like, or Scripture says you need to change this. But the main thing, I mean, the whole part about Jesus being on a cross was like, hey, regardless of who you are, whether you're a thief, a tax collector, whether you're somebody awesome, I died for you. And that's where it starts, and acknowledging that I have a perspective, an opinion, and that's worth something, regardless of how good or bad it is. That blew my mind, and it took me forever to wrap my head around it, and it took honestly friends and community to show me that, because people like Brandon and Zach and Ariane and her family and all the people at Roots, and I'm not going to name all the people because that would take forever. But surrounding myself with people that constantly encouraged me and accepted me regardless of my faults, that's honestly where my ability to step out of people pleasing was tempered. Because like Brandon, there's so many people challenged and called me out on it. It's like, why do you feel like you have to earn our friendship? We like you inherently as you are, And when you understand that you're on an even playing field with everybody. Like I was talking to somebody the other day about dating, and we were talking about how some people are just so hot and so like, they got their life together and they're just so responsible and they're better speakers. It's like everybody's a 6. Truly, everybody is a 6. Some people might seem like a 10 on the front side or on the outside, but there's things inside them that make them a 6. We're all very equal.
The irony of that is the number of man is 666.
Yeah. Hospitality is the good version of people pleasing. What do you think about that?
Hospitality being the good version of people pleasing? I mean, yeah, hospitality done right is you just trying to make someone else's life comfortable because you're okay making sacrifices for someone else's benefit. Like, it's something you've willfully decided to do. It's instead of I'm doing something because I feel compelled to do it. If you don't want to do it, don't do it. Because once you start doing something you don't want to do, then you set the tone and the expectation moving forward with that person to think that this is the norm. Mm-hmm. And then it's really hard after you start doing that to stop, unless the person's healthy and say this is not actually what I want. There's a if you set your value down here, then people are going to expect your value to be down there for the most part. But if you set your value up here, then some people are gonna want that and some people are not. But you're going to avoid having people that are gonna keep trying to pull things out of you that are not meant to be in your life because you people pleased them to be there.
I think you know how you go to some people's room, or like in Beauty and the Beast. Did you ever watch the new Beauty and the Beast with, what's her face? Hermione Granger.
I believe I have, yes.
Gosh, what is her name?
I don't know.
You guys know, let me know. But basically, they were leading her through the castle. I think it was maybe one of the servants or something. They were like, you can go here, just don't go to the west wing, you know? I think instead of hospitality, I want to replace that with boundaries is the good version of people-pleasing, because there are areas of yourself that people have free access to, and there are areas of yourself where people have to earn access to. You know, just like in Beauty and the Beast, she had to earn access to that wing, which is trust and whatnot. And there are certain areas where people inherently get parts of me, and that's healthy. But there are other areas where it's like, no, I'm not going to give you that. That might frustrate you, but there's a boundary here, and you have to pay a cost of entry because, well, honestly, I'm gonna challenge you. Why do you think that you deserve this from me for free? That's not okay. And that's that confidence thing I was talking about. That's I have value thing that I was talking about. And in so many ways, for instance, in our relationship, you have paid that cost of entry, right? So I'll give you a part of me that Peyton Page doesn't reserve because I don't know them, you know?
Sorry, Peyton. We love you nonetheless.
But people-pleasing is just allowing people to have that part of you that should be reserved that they haven't earned yet, just because they want it. And I think challenging people to a higher standard, like you were saying, keeping this, when you set the bar up here, there are some people that are going to say, okay, well, you are worth that, so I'm going to pay the price. And then you're going to have some people that are going to say, actually, you're not worth that to me, or I don't like that price. And I think that's just as okay, and that's loving, honestly. I mean, if you think about it, think about how Christian faith is, right? Think about how Jesus said that he is the way. Some people don't want to accept that. That's a big price to pay. You have to put all. It said, those of you who save your life lose it, and those of you who give up your life find it. Right.
I think in a weird way, and this is slightly a tangent, but I feel like it could be a little bit applicable. I feel like just like in the world, there are different currencies. Mm-hmm. I feel like on an emotional / human level, there are also different currencies. There's the currencies of athleticism. There's the currencies of intellectualism. There's the currencies of
emeralds.
Whatever. Emeralds.
Minecraft.
Chaos control. No.
I was thinking Minecraft.
I was thinking of Sonic. But like, you know, so for instance, so like one friend may be really expensive in the ways of athleticism. I may not want to pay that price of athleticism to be your friend because I don't really have a lot of currency coming in that area. I may have a lot more currency coming in the area of intellectualism. So if that's something you want, I'm willing to pay that price.
But you might do that just because you think, oh, I need this relationship so bad, so I'm going to do something that I don't want to do to get it.
Or you try to pay out of your athleticism which you don't have as much of to that person, and you don't have it, and you end up hurting yourself trying to be their friend. Or in the same way of like, someone's trying to be friends with me and they're trying to relate to me on some sort of like counseling level when they themselves have zero understanding it or whatever. And it's just like, I appreciate you're trying, but like you're still very much so focused on yourself here, and I'm more focused on this, and this. It's just like, I'm not saying that. Like I think this is a way of looking at it in the sense of like, when it comes to this person is still valuable, it's just for me to be their friend. I don't always have the time and energy to put into this category, so we may not be a good of a fit of a friend. It doesn't diminish your value whatsoever. The currency is all the same. It's just what I had the most work and effort into that I can then give to you out of that, because that's our common interest point, may not be the same.
And expectation has a lot to do with that, because I remember in middle school, I don't know why middle school was, I guess middle school is formative for a lot of people, but there were so many people that I aspired to be like that I just could not be like because I didn't have the resources. And I say resources, and I mean that just our life was different, like I wasn't as athletic as them. I didn't have the social skills as them. I didn't have the socioeconomic capabilities as them, and that was true in high school. I didn't have a car, and there were people I wanted to be friends with that were, in order to be, the cost of entry was mobility. They were out doing things, and I couldn't do that, right? And I thought I was a piece of crap, and I have no value because I can't do this. And I think it's really easy to approach relationships from the people-pleasing mindset, saying, because I can't be part of this relationship, I must not have value.
No, because that's the thing. If you look at it from the perspective of currencies, everyone is equally worth the same. It's just that some people have put more time and effort and energy into one area of life that you may not have the ability, the time, or interest to do, but another person's put into other area. Still equally important, it's just that the two of you may not connect because of your time and interest, so you cannot pay that payment for them because they're just a different type of person. Still valuable, and you're still valuable, you're just two different people. I'm not going to be able to connect the same way with people who are really into, I don't know, yoga. I don't know. Like, I don't care quite as much. So, like, I may not be able to. I mean, that's not a great example, but that's just an example. Like, I just don't have. It's not that I couldn't understand it. It's not that I, wouldn't want to spend more time with it. It's just that with all the things that I do want to put more time into and effort, I don't have as much time for that. So therefore, if I'm trying to connect with you, my currency levels in yoga is not as high for what your price is, unless you want to diminish your value, which is a bad idea, so that I can fit in with you. Like, I feel like that's where people pleasing, the bad sides, come in. I want to make myself a discount for someone who is not working as strong in this area as I am, or something, or whatever.
Brother, I ain't on clearance.
It's like, don't do that. Like, don't diminish your value. But at the same time, also, we have the ability, and this is, now we're getting really big of a tangent, but like, to, take more interest in certain areas and build up your currency in that area. But now I'm getting too complicated, so I'm gonna pull back.
Yeah. Well, guys, this Friday we're gonna be talking about, do we feel like adults? Are we? Because when you turn 18, 19, you're considered an adult legally.
By the eyes of the government, you're an adult.
Yeah, but I remember when I was 18, I was like, I'm a freaking adult. I can go to college. I can do all these things now. And the floodgates opened. And then as I went into my 20s, I started thinking to myself, man, I don't like all this responsibility, And then there were a lot of areas of my life where I just did not I just didn't receive the responsibility I was supposed to. And so that also left me thinking, okay, well, I don't have value because what my life requires right now, I'm not ready to pay that price. And so I was just stuck in it. It left me thinking I'm not good enough because I wasn't doing what I needed to do, And so the question that we're going to be answering is, do we feel like adults yet? And I don't know, in my mind, it's connected somehow, people pleasing and feeling like adults, because I honestly feel like you can never arrive as an adult, because I'm going to be, man, next month on September 6th, it's my birthday pretty soon, I'm going to be 37. Wow. I'm going to be 37, 3 years away from 40. And I remember as a kid, my uncle had a 40th birthday, and they called him Over the Hill.
At 40.
Like,
That's
at
supposed
40.
to be 50. That's not 40.
Like, you're on your way out. And I'm like, I guess through that perspective, I'm like halfway through my life. That's kind of scary. But I don't really feel like an adult yet. Like, I look at all these people around me, it's just all the people at church and in my social network and just people I see. And it's like, I don't feel like an adult, especially people I went to high school with, man. A lot of them just seem so much older and more responsible than I am. Anyways, we're going to talk about that this Friday, 7 p.m. Eastern. So if you haven't done so already, hit the like button and subscribe, and you'll get a notification for when we go live. But
especially that bell button.
Yeah, hit the bell. But if you're going to watch, or if whatever, in what way do you feel like an adult, and in what way are you an adult and you just haven't been living up to it? I'm really curious, because I guess that's kind of where we're going to go.
Yeah, I guess you could let us know that in the comments.
Yeah.
We can look to that and respond. I really do, though, if you do begin commenting. Now, granted, if we explode and like every one of our videos get comments, it may take us some time to groom through all of that. But, at the very least, that would be a great challenge for us to have. So we would love to have you guys comment on that kind of stuff, because do you feel like an adult? Do you feel like you've arrived? What is your thoughts on those things? Let us know. But other than that, there we go. I want to thank you guys for watching. We broadcast every week on Mondays, Fridays, and Saturdays at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we'll be live again this Friday. We'll be talking about have we made it to become adults yet?
I can see far away from where I've been. He says I see a potential. I see a potential in my eyes. I see a potential. I never lost sight of the reason why you're alive. You're alive. You're alive. We sing Jesus, you're alive.